The reason so many agents struggle with new construction is because they're trying to approach it like resale. But new construction is a completely different process. And when you don't understand that process, it's easy to make mistakes that cost you time, trust, builder relationships, and sometimes even the deal. If we haven't met yet, I'm Nicole D. I've spent over 20 years working directly in the home building industry as a builder rep, and now I focus on helping real estate agents better understand how to navigate new construction from start to finish. So everything I'm sharing here is based on real, day-to-day experience working with builders, buyers, and agents. So let's talk about a few of the biggest mistakes agents make when selling new construction and what to do instead. Let's start with one of the most important ones, not registering your buyer properly. This is something a lot of agents don't fully understand, and it can create serious issues. And in most cases, it can even impact whether or not you receive your commission. Because every builder has their own process when it comes to buyer registration. And if you skip that step and assume it's automatic, you can put yourself in a difficult position. For example, if your buyer decides to stop by a model on their own and you haven't registered them under your name, there's no record of you being their agent. From the builder's perspective, that buyer walked in unrepresented, and that can mean missing out on your commission entirely. So before your buyer ever steps foot into a model home, make sure you understand that builder's registration process and that your buyer is properly registered under you. The next common mistake I see is agents sending their buyers to model homes alone. Now I understand schedules don't always align, but when you remove yourself from the initial visit, you're also removing yourself from an important part of the process. Your buyer is now navigating price, options, decisions without your guidance. And that could lead to confusion or missed opportunities for you to add value. So instead, your goal should be to stay involved. If possible, attend the first appointment with your buyer. And if you can't, make sure you're connecting with the builder rep ahead of time and setting clear expectations with your client before they walk in. That first appointment sets the tone for the entire process. Now, let's talk about preparation. Showing up unprepared is one of the fastest ways to lose credibility in new construction. And this doesn't just mean not knowing the builder or the community, it also means not fully understanding your buyer. Because if you don't know exactly what your buyer is looking for, their budget, timeline, their must-haves, priorities, it becomes very difficult to guide them with confidence. For example, if your buyer walks into a model home and starts asking about features, upgrades, or pricing, and you're not clear on what actually matters most to them, it's easy for the conversation to go in too many directions, and that's where confusion starts. So what does preparation actually look like? It means understanding two things before you walk in: the builder and your buyer. Take the time to ask the right questions up front so you know exactly what your client needs before you ever step foot into a model home. That's exactly why I created my toolkit. Inside, there's a buyer discovery questionnaire that helps you guide that initial conversation. So you're not guessing what your buyer wants, you're walking in with clarity. And when you're prepared, you lead the conversation. And when you lead the conversation, your buyer trusts you. Another mistake I see often is overwhelming the buyer. And this usually comes from a good place. Agents want to be helpful, so they show multiple communities, multiple builders, multiple floor plans, and try to explain everything all at once. But for the buyer, it quickly becomes too much. For example, you might take your buyer to 2 to 3 different models in one day, each with different pricing, layouts, upgrades, timelines, and by the end of it, instead of feeling excited, they feel confused. And when buyers feel overwhelmed, they don't make decisions, they shut down. So instead, your role is to simplify the process, not to expand it. Narrow the options based on what you already know about your buyer. Focus on what actually fits their budget, timeline, and goals, and guide them step by step instead of trying to show them everything at once. Clarity creates confidence, not just for you, but for your buyers too. And then there's builder relationships. This is something I see agents overlook all the time, but it's incredibly important because builder reps are working with a high volume of agents and buyers every single day. And over time, they absolutely notice who is prepared, who communicates clearly, and who respects the process, and who doesn't. For example, if you're showing up unprepared, not communicating, and only reaching out when you need something, you're missing the opportunity to build a real working relationship. And in new construction, relationships matter more than most agents realize, because builder reps are often the ones sharing upcoming inventory, giving insight into timelines and incentives, and help keep the deals running smoothly. So instead, your goal should be to approach this like a partnership. Communicate clearly, ask questions, respect their process, and take the time to build relationships even when you don't have an active deal. The agents who build strong builder relationships are the ones who create repeat opportunities. And coming from the builder side, I can tell you, we absolutely remember agents who make the process easier. And finally, the biggest mistake I see is not fully understanding your role as the agent in new construction, or the process itself. A lot of agents think their job is just to bring the buyer to the builder, but your role is so much more than that. You're not just there to open the door. You're there to guide your buyer through a process they don't fully understand, set expectations, help them navigate decisions, and help make sure they feel confident every step of the way. Because without guidance, buyers can easily feel overwhelmed, confused, and unsure about what they're committing to. And when that happens, it impacts their experience and your credibility. And if you don't fully understand the process yourself, it's very difficult to lead your buyer with confidence, which is why everything we just talked about matters. Registration, preparation, communication, builder relationships, all of it comes back to one thing: understanding the process. And most agents are trying to figure that out in real time instead of learning it up front. And honestly, if you're watching this and thinking, okay, I don't want to keep guessing my way through this, that's exactly why I created the Navigating New Construction community, because most agents aren't taught how this process actually works and what their roles should look like at each stage. Inside the community, we go much deeper into everything we talked about here, from understanding how to properly work with builders, to knowing what to say in buyer conversations, to confidently guiding your clients from contract to closing. Inside, you'll get the full Navigating New Construction course, live Q&A and training sessions where you can ask questions in real time, templates and resources you can actually use with your buyers, and ongoing support so you're not figuring this out all alone. And instead of walking into a model unsure, you actually know what you're doing and how to lead your client through it. If that's something you're looking for, I'll leave everything linked below so you can take a closer look. And if you've made it this far, let's take the opportunity to get a little vulnerable in the comments. What part of new construction still feels the most confusing or intimidating for you right now? I'd love to know how I can support you in this process. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.